part of the theme for this year is trying to define what wholeness is. And I wanted to find out, what does wholeness currently look like for you?
So for me, I think if you'd asked me this question a few years ago, the answer would have been different, a lot different. Now that I'm on this journey with God, wholeness to me means being the best version of what God has called me to be. Sure. It's tapping into my purpose and making sure that I walk in the plans that God has for me. Mm. If I can achieve that, sure, I will be happy. Everything else follows from that, all the materialistic things that we all want in life follow from that. But if I can be the best version of what God has called me to be, I'll be satisfied in this life.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Kensani and I bring you faith, education, wisdom and lifestyle content. Please don't forget to comment, like and subscribe. We are in partnership with Re-Envision Wholeness, which advocates for holistic wellness and aims to educate and uplift communities. In today's video, I chat to Thabile Gcabashe and we're talking about her spiritual journey with God and what starting over with God looks like. I'm going to do a brief intro of who Thabile is, and then she's going to share a bit about herself just afterwards. Thabile is an admitted attorney of the High Court of South Africa. We love attorneys in this podcast, and practicing in the areas of construction, engineering, and renewable energy. She holds a LLB degree and currently studying a Post Graduate Diploma in Business Administration through Wits Business School. Welcome, Cece.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Are you?
I am, genuinely.
Okay, so you can give us a brief intro about yourself, your background, where you were raised, and a bit about your spiritual background, what informed your beliefs and your values.
Okay, so just about where I'm from. I'm born and bred in Pietermaritzburg, KZN. I was there throughout my whole life, from primary school and high school. And then in 2013, I moved to Joburg. I went to Wits. I did my undergrad there for 4 years. And I started working, I think it was 2017. And I've basically been in Johannesburg since then. I haven't left. A bit of my hobbies. I am a big foodie. So I like trying new restaurants. I enjoy Formula One. I watch it quite a lot, and there's a season happening right now. I enjoy live sports such as cricket and rugby as well. I enjoy going to watch those live games with friends, and I actually play the piano. I'm learning how to play the piano to accompany my singing as well, and I'm into photography as well. So I really try outside of work to have a social life and tap into my interests. And I currently specialize in construction engineering and renewable energy. In terms of my beliefs, I grew up in a church. That's all I've known, growing up with my mom and my dad. I went to church every Sunday. You attend prayer during the week as well. So that's where the basis and the foundation of my faith began.
Okay. I think quite interesting. She's the well-rounded person that law firms always look for.
Well, I try to be.
And then because of our topic, which is about starting over with God, I wanted you to just share a bit about who God is to you and what influenced or caused a shift in the way you relate to Him.
So I definitely would say for me, and I know a lot of people use this phrase a lot in terms of, when they describe themselves and their friends. For me, God is my safe space. Quite literally, I think He's the one person where I can go to with anything. Mm-hmm. I can go to God as I am. Guaranteed He won't judge me. Guaranteed He will show me grace and mercy every time. So as cliche as that line sounds, He's literally my safe space. And I think the turning point for me was 2022, last year. I was in a car accident. Literally almost lost my life. And when you look at the pictures of the car accident, a lot of people wonder how I made it. And I don't know how I made it, but it's obviously God, that's how I made it. But after the accident, I realized that at that time in my life, my faith, I wouldn't say was strong. I wasn't praying a lot. I wasn't reading the Bible. But I was just so surprised that even at that stage in my faith, God could still save me and pull through so much for me. So I started realizing, imagine if I actually took my faith very seriously. Imagine if I was praying a lot. Imagine if I was seriously fasting and adhering to the Bible. Imagine how my life would be different.
Yeah.
So that was the turning point in my faith. Yeah.
So good. I love the description of God as a safe space, because essentially that's what He is, a refuge for us. You know, people who believe in God on earth, we know the word speaks about how we are actually ambassadors, or we are in the world but not of the world. So in the world that we live in, He becomes our safe space. What does starting over then mean to you, and what has changed? I feel like you've already answered, but then what does it mean to you?
So starting over literally means starting from scratch. So I've got an A-type personality. I love being in control. I love dictating how my day should be, my life should be, and my plans. So this first starting point is letting go, and part of letting go was giving my life to Christ. So I got baptized last month.
Okay,
I gave my life to Christ. You know, it was the best day of my life. Easiest, yes, and I'll do it 10 times over again any day. So that was the starting point. Releasing control and just walking in faith every single day. And I think it's so easy to say that, but when you actually have to do it practically, it's difficult. And every single day, I have no idea what the day holds. Yeah. I get to my car, I get to the office, I'm like, you know what, God, I'm here, homie. Take control, and I'll follow your lead. That's what starting over means. Reading the Bible thoroughly. I've challenged myself to read the Bible from beginning to end. I hadn't ever read the Bible from the start to the beginning. Like, you know, books obviously now and then, and you know, like the quote unquote important ones, etc. But I didn't really know the Bible from beginning to end. So right now I'm almost done with the Old Testament. I'm about to start the New Testament. And just like fasting, I never used to fast, so now, you know how you have your New Year's resolutions, I also now schedule my fast for the year as well. So just like how you plan for other things in life, I'm sort of planning how I want my relationship with God to grow as well. Yeah.
Sure. That's very profound. And this is because a part of Christianity, the biggest part about Christianity is you saying, I'm giving my life to God. So you are letting go of control. You're saying, I am no longer in charge of my finances. I'm no longer in charge of my career. I'm no longer in charge of everything that I am belongs to you. That's very difficult, like you said.
It is very hard. It's a conscious effort every day. Obviously, in the flesh, you do things like you'll go to work, you will pay X, Y, Z. But spiritually, you almost let go and say, you know, God, I've done this in the flesh, but now you can take over. And it's very hard, but I think it's possible.
And this then links to the idea of God. It's not actually an idea. This is what He says, that He delights in every detail of our lives. And I wanted to find out, how do you live in such a way that everything you do brings Him glory?
So I think for me, for the most part, my life, everything I did was always to glorify God. But I think the area I really struggled with, I never used to understand tough seasons. I never used to understand how God can put good people through bad things. So even if you pray, even if you fast, even if you go to church every Sunday, like you're there, and then God will just put you through the deepest thing. And I never used to understand that. So I think I used to live in this bubble where I thought life was almost perfect, but it wasn't, right? And so now, in order to delight in every aspect of my life and glorify God, I always try to now find joy in chaos. You know, I try my best to, you know, even through the storm, to find peace that surpasses all understanding. And just know that even when it's tough and I'm going through it, God is still there, He's still holding me, and I still choose Him no matter what.
Yeah. Finding joy in chaos is what we call to do. It's that part where it says, rejoice in the Lord.
Yeah.
Or the joy of the Lord is your strength. You know, you're going through the most, and then the Bible comes and says, be thankful in every circumstance. And then Paul speaks about how I have been content in every season. I've lost this. And if you look at the story or the life of Paul, you realize that this guy was going through the most. And every single time he was anchored in Christ. And I just also wanted to say that the things that happen around us and to us sometimes are by virtue of our choosing, and also by virtue of living in a world that is fallen.
Yeah.
So by being in the world, we are faced with challenges and hardships, but we are guaranteed a hope. We are given this hope, which is Jesus, and he gives us a new way to navigate life, which he says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light, and then he calls us to himself because he knew that living in this world without him would be unbearable.
Exactly. And also, I think it's important to remember the Bible doesn't say you won't go through tough times. Sometimes the tough times you go through are actually ordained by God, and I didn't understand that. If you think about the story of Job, for example, Job lost everything, but if you remember, the devil went to God before and said, here's your son Job, I want to do X, Y, Z. And God was like, it's fine, just don't kill him. Yes. So God authorized the devil taking everything away from him.
So good.
But he didn't kill him. So I think when I go through tough times now, I'm like, okay, it's fine. If God has sent me here, it's all good. And if tough times come, it's fine as well, because his word doesn't say that it's not going to happen. It doesn't say that we won't have sufferings. In fact, Romans says that, I'm paraphrasing now, you must glorify in suffering, because suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope. So once I stumbled on that verse, I was like, okay, God, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
The beauty of it all is that God, like you said, God stamps it. If God no, with my child, I don't want, he means it. That's nothing, So also, because you're an attorney and we do a lot of educational content here, I want to find out what honoring God in your work looks like on a daily basis. What do you think when you say, I am glorifying God in my work, I'm honoring God even in my work? What does that look like?
So for me, it's understanding that in every job space that I go to, God has sent me there, right? And there's obviously politics everywhere you go. Work is not nice, guys. Sure. Work is, it's hard, it's challenging, but it's just realizing that I'm actually not working for my bosses, I'm working for God, right? He sent me there, I'm there for a purpose, I'm there for a mission, and I need to achieve it. And also, it's just like learning to love my colleagues, for example, showing them grace too. Arriving on time at work and just being diligent and excellent in everything that I do. And that's the way I try now to look at work. And once I'd shifted that mindset and changed how I view things, it made life a bit easier. So when things are hot at work and I feel like this is the bottom of the barrel, I just know it's fine because God sent me here. Which means he ordained it, it's stamped, and I'll get through it. Yeah.
So good. I like the fact about diligence, because God is not going to come down and do the work for us. Yeah. First and foremost, God is not going, just because you are saved or whatever doesn't mean you have extra favor to be late to work. So it's those, I like the fact that you say we are being sent. We are not sent to the same places. Yeah. Because we think that abazalwane must all be in ministry, or abazalwane must all be doing missions, while the jobs that we are in are actually part of our partnership with God.
Exactly. Yeah, but also if a lot of the time when we are at a certain place, we're praying for God to elevate us to the next place. So you're praying to be a CEO, but you can't even get to work on time. I'm sure God is sitting up there saying, make this make sense. How's it going to work? So it's those small things that wherever you are in life, you've got to bring excellence and be diligent. Yeah.
And we see that a lot with the story of Joseph, David. We like them, but we forget that they went through the most and they were diligent. I mean, David was a shepherd. He started there, and then he went to live in the palace, but he was not somebody big or anything. He was actually playing the harp and holding the armor for the king at the time.
Exactly. And
had God already anointed him then by the time he went to the palace?
I don't think so. I can't remember,
So imagine you there, you're working at a place, you don't even know that you are being prepared to become king.
Exactly.
And then you leave too quickly because, hey, I need to be like my brother who is now CEO of whatever. So good. What do you think are some of the things that hold us back from starting afresh with God?
I definitely think it's tough seasons. If you go through something and you literally lose it all, the devil will definitely make you believe that you can't start over, number one, let alone start over with God. So I think that's what prevented me from starting over. It's like, is it even possible? Will God help me through this? Will God come rescue me? But in hindsight now, I realize that one thing about the devil, he is a worthy opponent. He will get to you in so many ways, and he starts making you believe that. So I think it's tough seasons, and then in that tough season, it's believing the lies the devil tells you.
True.
Yeah.
And so it's tough seasons, and I think condemnation, because like the devil whispers lies. You're not good enough. Who do you think is going to accept you? You just did this yesterday. How will you return to this God if you are this kind of person?
Yeah, it's exactly that. And he just taps into things he knows you'll believe. Like the devil will never tempt you with something you know for sure you won't fall. Like if you don't drink, he's not going to come and tempt you with alcohol because you don't drink. It's those small things, your weaknesses, your the things that he knows that have affected you through trauma. The devil comes and attacks you in terms of that. Yeah.
So there's always hope. There's always the Lord, and he's willing to accept and love us, and he's always welcoming. And then, but once you are in relationship with him, how do we maintain this relationship with him? It's like a friendship. It's like a loving relationship. How do we maintain that?
It's exactly that. That's how I look at my relationship with God. I'm very good with scheduling appointments with my friends, work, meetings, etc. I was like, why don't I do the same thing with God? So now it's a conscious effort. Where I try to read the word, or like a verse every single night, or a chapter if I can. I pray a lot more. I really do. And the most important thing now is that I fast and I tithe. It's such a good feeling. But that's the only way it works. My relationship with God before was very one-sided. It was very conditional. Like, I'll only serve you if you bless me. But if you don't bless me, I'm not sure. Whereas now it's reciprocal. It's him and I working together. Yeah.
The concept you mentioned that you pray. So for somebody who is going to watch today for the first time, they want to start over with God. What is prayer? What does prayer look like? I know
that's a tough one.
That's not something we discussed, but I just wanted to find out what it looks like for you.
Prayer is very personal, so it's very hard to dictate to other people what it looks like. I think it's just, a lot of people say they can't pray because they don't know what to pray about. And that's the starting point. If you don't know how to pray, say to God, I don't know how to pray, but I'm here talking to you. So for me, it's just being honest with God. Raw feelings, raw emotions, opening up to him about everything and anything, not withholding anything. Because with humans on the earth, you will hold back. But with God, it's just not holding back and just sharing honest feelings. That's what prayer is like to me. And it's a conscious effort. If you have to put an alarm to pray, put it on. That's what it is. Yeah,
it's like a conversation with God.
Exactly. It's a conversation. It's not that deep, really. Like, it's just chatting to God for real. Yeah,
I was thinking earlier, because I was reading the word, and it was just mentioning how you must be thankful in all season. If you're worried, then petition him. And I looked at the word petition, and you know how we'd have like when we don't like something, gender-based violence, we're all going to sign up and get petitions. Or if you get a decision that is not favorable from you, from the government, you're going to appeal. And I just looked at it from that point of view, that when you petition someone or when you appeal to them, you're coming back humbly and praying that they reconsider. I think that is also part of prayer, to come and cry and say, God, look at this. How are we doing with this? How do we go about doing this? It just felt like a in-depth thing for me, because I wanted to understand what petitioning God looks like. But I think that's also part of prayer.
But even in Jeremiah, he calls us to, if you seek me with all your heart, you will find me. It's like the answer is there. All you need to do really is seek him. All you need to do is petition him and you'll find him. That's why I say it's really not that deep. Like, we make it seem like petitioning God is not a deep thing. Like, just sit there wherever you are in your quiet space, read the word fast and pray. You know what I mean? It's not like this extravagant, impossible thing that we think is beyond us. We could all do it.
I like the simplicity of that. Like the simplicity of that. Anyway, Paul was saying that we preach Christ, and once you've matured, you know that you simply preach that, nothing else. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, we like complicating things.
We seriously do. And we think that, I used to think like, fasting and being so like strong in your faith was for people who are like pastors or evangelists or prophets. But it's not. It's for all of us. And again, I think that's how, for me, the devil was trying to get me like that, to make me believe that it's above me. It's something that I'll only reach in a couple of years. But when you really read it and spend time with God, you realize the answers are right there. It just obviously needs time and your own sacrifice.
Okay, awesome. And we all belong to Him. And
Absolutely.
We're all loved.
Exactly.
And then two more questions. One thing, how did you overcome negative self-perception?
So I struggled a bit with this for a long time. I think because of my A-type personality, I'm very critical of myself. I always felt like I wasn't doing enough, I wasn't good enough, although I was doing a lot at the same time. So I'm just like, God, how does this work? Like, I'm doing a lot, but I don't feel like I'm in enough.
Sure.
But I then had to interrogate it and find out the root and the cause of it, etc. But then I also had to then reconcile how I'm feeling with what God says in His Word about me, and it's just basic scriptures that I always speak over my life. Things like, you're wonderfully and fearfully made. God constantly reminds us of that in the Bible, that we're the head and not the tail. His purpose in life is for us to be on top and not the bottom. So it's just speaking those declarations over my life. And it's not easy, because it's not just about speaking it, you need to actually believe it. Because if you just speak it, it's as good as nothing. So I've overcome the speaking part. Now I'm working on the believing it every single day. So before I walk into work, I sit in my car for like 10 minutes and I pray. I declare all this on my life, and I feel a lot better afterwards. So it's just declaring that, believing it, and that's how I overcome it. Some days are good, some days are bad, but it's just one day at a time.
Yeah. So this is who I am. And the Bible says this is who I am. So everything that happens around me does not define me.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Last question, which is part of the theme for this year, is trying to define what wholeness is. And I wanted to find out, what does wholeness currently look like for you?
So for me, I think if you'd asked me this question a few years ago, the answer would have been different, a lot different. Now that I'm on this journey with God, wholeness to me means being the best version of what God has called me to be.
Sure.
It's tapping into my purpose and making sure that I walk in the plans that God has for me. If I can achieve that, sure, I will be happy. Everything else follows from that, all the materialistic things that we all want in life follow from that. But if I can be the best version of what God has called me to be, I'll be satisfied in this life.
Awesome. And I'm not going to add anything. And that's about it, guys. We had a wholesome conversation about starting over with God. A lot of scripture, but more than anything, it's about to encourage you to to seek God and have this relationship with Him, because it's very important for us in the world that we live in to be centered and grounded and rooted in the one who has created us. And the only way to find our purpose, or what we're called to do, is if we have this relationship with Him. Thanks, Thabile, for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was a good time. Thank you.
Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share. I see you guys. Goodbye.